Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
Okay, so your check engine light is glaring at you. The car's running like garbage, and you're staring down this long, totally confusing list of error codes. It feels like a complete disaster, right? But what if I told you it's not a dozen problems? What if it's a detective story, and we're hunting for just one single culprit? Well, that's what we're going to do. Together, we're going to crack this case.
You know, in every great mystery, there's always that one clue, that one piece of evidence that just breaks the whole case wide open. For us, that's what we call the electrical smoking gun. It's the one critical fault that tells us everything we need to know. And once you find it, well, the whole investigation changes.
And here it is, P0192. Out of all the codes your car might be throwing at you, this one right here, this is our primary piece of evidence. This is the thread we're going to pull to unravel this entire mess.
All right, so our first job as diagnostic detectives is to figure out what our main clue is actually telling us. What does this electrical smoking gun, this code P0192, really mean? Let's decode it.
So P0192 is incredibly specific. It's your car's main computer, the ECM, saying that it's getting a signal from the fuel rail pressure sensor that is way, way too low. We're talking practically 0 volts. To put it simply, it's like the computer is trying to have a critical conversation with this sensor, but the phone line has just gone completely dead.
So why would that line go dead? Well, you usually have 3 main suspects. It could be a short to ground in the wiring itself, a bad sensor that's basically shorted out on the inside, or maybe a problem with the power supply that feeds it. Now, given the other clues we have, our investigation is pointing straight at a short circuit, either in a wire or, what's much more likely, inside the sensor itself.
But here's the thing, P0192 isn't the whole story, not even close. It's just the loudest alarm bell in what's really a symphony of failures. This is a classic cascade effect, where one little problem triggers another, which triggers another. So, let's play detective and reconstruct the entire sequence of events, step by step.
Okay, here's the whole chain reaction, from start to finish. It all begins with the real villain. The fuel pump motor is dying. As it fails, it can't create enough fuel pressure, and it starts to get hot. That heat and electrical stress directly causes our main clue, the P0192 code, and the low pressure also triggers lean codes because the engine is literally starving for fuel. And from there, the dominoes just keep falling. The overheating pump cooks the fuel temperature sensor, and the fuel starvation gets so bad that a cylinder starts to misfire. See? It's a perfect example of how one single part can cause a whole lot of chaos.
Now, a great theory is one thing, but a professional diagnosis, that needs proof. We are not just guessing here. We can actually prove this whole theory with a really simple electrical test. This is how we go from having a suspect to getting a conviction. And getting that proof is a pretty simple 3-step process. A technician just has to find the fuel rail pressure sensor, unplug its little connector, and then, with the key on, use a multimeter to check the voltages on the 3 pins inside that connector. It's a quick test, and it's absolutely definitive.
And this is what they're looking for. This is what a healthy circuit looks like. Terminal 1, that's the power supply, should have about 5 volts. Terminal 3 is the ground, so it better be 0 volts. And Terminal 2, the signal wire, should kind of be floating at around half a volt when it's unplugged. If these numbers are off, you've found your problem.
But the final nail in the coffin, the irrefutable proof, comes from testing the sensor itself. See, a healthy sensor has a certain amount of electrical resistance, but our failed sensor, when you test its resistance, it's going to read near 0 ohms. And that, my friends, is the textbook definition of a direct short circuit. This isn't a guess, it's an electrical fact. Case closed.
Okay, the mystery is solved. The culprit has been identified. So now it's time for the verdict. And this isn't a list of suggestions. These are the non-negotiable repairs you have to do to fix this car correctly and, more importantly, safely. And let's be absolutely crystal clear here. This is a critical situation. Do not even think about starting the engine. A short circuit like this can damage the expensive engine computer, and running an engine this starved for fuel can cause catastrophic internal damage. This is a call a tow truck right now kind of problem. The very first part that absolutely has to be replaced is the entire in-tank fuel pump module. This is our prime suspect, the one that kicked off this whole mess in the first place. And we replaced the whole module because it's the heart of the problem. It's got the dying fuel pump motor inside. That's the root cause. It also has that fuel temperature sensor that got cooked and shorted out, which is causing that P0182 code. It is the single source for almost all of these failures.
The second mandatory replacement part is the fuel rail pressure sensor, or FRP sensor. You'll remember this as our smoking gun piece of evidence.
That P0192 code is basically a death certificate for this sensor. It's positive confirmation that it has an internal short circuit. A failed sensor like this is just sending garbage data to the computer, which makes it totally impossible for the engine to run safely or efficiently. It has got to go.
So what's the damage? The big question, right? For a repair like this, including both of these essential parts plus the labor to install them, you can expect the total to fall somewhere in this range. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it tackles the entire cascade of failures all at once.
You know, knowledge is power, especially when you walk into a repair shop. So now that you know exactly what's wrong with the car, let's build your action plan so you can get this handled with total confidence.
Okay, your action plan is simple, and it puts you in control. Step 1, tow the vehicle. Do not drive it. Step 2, when you talk to your mechanic, you're going to communicate clearly and precisely. And step 3, after the repair is done, you're going to ask them to verify that everything is back to normal.
In fact, here's the exact script you can use. Just walk in and say this. The root failure is a bad fuel pump. It caused the fuel rail pressure sensor and the in-tank temperature sensor to short out. Please replace the fuel pump module and the FRP sensor. That is clear, it's confident, and it gets right to the heart of the matter.
So here's the big takeaway from all of this. The next time your dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree, don't panic. Just take a breath and ask yourself this question. What if all those different warning lights aren't a dozen different problems, but are actually just telling one single story?